Bari how ka thea tsebe mobung wa Nazareta o tla ikutlwela dillo le ditshebo tsa bafu ba nyametse ke dihola meya ya bona e hua botibong.
Wow, Weekend Dawn review. This is not a burial, it's a resurrection. It is the first narrative feature film made by a Mosotho director, shot on location in the remote mountains of Lesotho. It stars the late Mary Twala as Mantwa, the film's protagonist. The film premiered at the Venice International Film Festival and will have its African premiere at the Durban International Film Festival as the opening film in her honor. Director and writer Lemohang Jeremiah Mosese joins us to chat about the film. Lemohang, thank you for your time and thank you for joining us on Weekend Dawn. Just by watching that trailer, I'm in. I want to watch this kind of movie. Tell me about how it was received at the Venice Film Festival.
I mean, it was well. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It was received very well. At that time, I just was not necessarily. I couldn't be in the audience at that time, so I didn't necessarily enjoy the first screening. But of course, the audience loved it, and I remember when after the film ends, and people were standing up and just clapping for some few minutes, and I was disorientated because the first time seeing the film. So I think as an artist, when you see it the first time, you kind of like, off guard a little bit. You're not an audience yet. You are critique. So it will take me a bit of a time, maybe a few years, to enjoy the film myself. But the reception has been really beautiful. Yeah.
Take me through your initial time you saw the script and you sat down with the script writers, etc. What caught you about this movie, and how did you know that your directing prowess would make it such a stellar piece of art?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote it myself. And I had also very talented people around me. I developed it through realness, and I developed it through Biennale College in Venice. So a lot of people who are actually involved as far as consulting with them, who are very, 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 very special and very talented and very particular in their fields. So I was lucky enough to work with other people while I was writing it, to bounce back the draft. The film, it's sort of a stream of ideas. There were many ideas that I wanted to tell. Some ideas are more very clear on your upfront, and some ideas are very minimal, and they're very hidden, and it's by design. And part of this, it's the Shakespearean tragedy-esque approach to it, because when I was growing up in Lesotho, Nelson Mandela came, and everybody was worshiping this man. He was a hero. He was a knight. He was just coming to save us all. I mean, everyone. I remember he shook my hand. I was one of those kids who were in front of the yellow tape, and but Lesotho has not been colonized, and Lesotho has not been under apartheid. And but we felt the sense of someone who's going to save us, but we didn't even know from what. But the irony of this was that Nelson Mandela was there to inherit the deal that was made between the military government of Lesotho and the Afrikaans apartheid regime. But at this time, I mean, nobody knew it. But of course, the government and of course, South African government of South Africa knew about this deal, how backward and how bizarre this deal is. So this was my starting point, because one of the villages that has been resettled now, it's my grandmother's village, and for the fact that Nelson Mandela was this big figure, this knight, but also he inherited such a backward medieval contract ever. He's still under that contract. And this was starting point for me. This is one of the ideas. The film addresses a lot of ideas about identity, about death, about rebirth, about the new life. But also it addresses the political situation that's happening in regard to dams and the World Bank and South African government and our government. So pretty much in the...
Let's talk specifically about Lesotho as the location, because I could just see from the trailer rolling hills and beautiful greenery and lush lawns. Why is it that you went there? Of course, you have a connection because your grandmother's from that area, but why is it that you thought ideal location has to be Lesotho?
I mean, I grew up in Lesotho, so every time I go to the mountains, I visit my grandmother. I see the beauty of the space, but also I was aware of the tyranny of the space. I was aware of this beauty that can, that can take out the story, that people can actually focus on the story, and not on the story but on the landscape. And that's why in my film it's a 3x4. Which is such a square sort of a framing, because I didn't want to show too much of beauty, because it's not necessarily a good thing for me, at least for me in films. I don't find it as a beautiful thing sometimes. I mean, I use it as a character, and my characters are more of a landscape. That's why the focus is on their faces. And that is, of course, the pitfall of shooting in Africa as a continent, because it's so beautiful, and you can fall into this pitfall. You can be pigeonholed into a film become really picturesque instead of story-driven, and people should be drawn to a story, and that is for me my main interest.
I'm picking up a lot of pockets of silence and dramatic music here and there. Why did you feel that you needed to play with a lot of those silent moments to tell the story?
Because I feel like the music for me is between the notes. It's not necessarily notes themselves, but the silence between the notes. That's what makes music. And it's the same with cinema. I feel like there's moments of in between, of before the character speaks. These moments in between are very vital. That's what makes music, and that's what for me speaks volume. That silence. And also the film, it's always about this, something seething beneath, something rising within the characters. Throughout the film, there's always the sense of something seething beneath. But we don't know whether it's good or bad, whether it's sort of omen or not. But we just know that there's something that is becoming. Whether it's philosophical, whether it's spiritual, whether it's social, whether it's political. I didn't want to show exactly where it belongs to, exactly. But there's always this. So I wanted to show it that, reflect that on silence. And I felt like it served to the film very well to, with all my other work, there's always this silence that I'm very drawn to. creatively, I just like silence. I like the idea of silence.
Lemohang, take me through the casting process, picking Mary Twala as the lead actress, and what was it like working with such a legendary actress during the process of shooting?
It was really beautiful. Mary, she's really a fighter, and she was very generous with her time and gave me opportunity to direct her. And she really surrendered to me. She surrendered to my direction. I mean, she's a veteran in the industry, and she's been here for a very long time. And I'm young, I'm coming up, but she was so just generous and just giving. And willing to go further. She was willing to go miles and miles and miles. It was not a question of how can this be done, it was a question of when do you want it to be done. And this for me was really a beautiful experience to get to see her even acting, to get to see her on set, and to get to talk to her off the camera when the lights are off. And yeah, I'm so privileged, and I would like to thank Kate, my producer. She's an amazing human being who sent me the tape of Mary. And when I saw the tape of Mary, I'm like, yeah, this is the right person. We stick to Mary. I mean, also even 80-year-old, you know, it's very rare to have 80-year-old who can still be that active and wants to, you know, push the envelope and wants to go even further and further and prove something. You have enough to prove. You have proved enough. You know, so we were lucky to be around her and to work with her.
Lemohang, in 30 seconds quickly, why should I go watch the movie? If I'm watching you talk so passionately about what you put together, why should I take some time out to find out what's going on at the Durban Film Festival and to find out why I need to see this movie?
You know, in Lesotho, we have a saying that says, "Nahejileboya." It's practically saying that the country has eaten a fair or something. It means the mad times. I feel like we are living in the mad times at the moment, and we could use a little bit of resilience, a little bit of resistance. And I feel like what Mary embodies and what her character embodies in the film exhibit that very things that we are drawn to as the human beings, the courage, the spirit of resilience of what's happening right now with the pestilence and the political situation right now. So I feel like people could use a little bit of encouragement and see Mary on the screen.
All right, director and writer Lemohang Jeremiah Mosese, thank you so much for your time. He was chatting to us about his film, This Is Not a Burial, It's a Resurrection, which stars the late Mary Twala.